Basically, it means I just need to keep him on a cone until we, yeah. Oh, I got you. Well. How the fuck did your cone just fall off? Alright, Dodie. As long as you're on my lap, you can keep the cone off. Oh shit, I forgot we're in the middle of club activities with Hanyu. Oh. Hold up, let me fix my webcam location. And then let me just make sure all mods are working. Yup, okay. God, Hanyu's outfit is so cute though, actually. Like, Whoa. Maybe? What the hell? fuck are you're so fat.
僕も圭一に恥ずかしい罰ゲームをしてやりますのです。いい提案だね。おじさんはそいつになるよ。
なんでいつの間にか俺包囲網が完成してるんだよ。上等だ。てめえら全員四つん這いで下校させてやるぜ。
はい、バンケットより後方。スピーチあと一人で乾杯に入ります。準備でき。
後方 OK です。内部全然聞こえないんで、スピーチが終わるタイミングでコールをお願いします。
いいかい。各宅にビールは10本ずつだよ。
Where are we now?
ちゃんと自分の縄張りにスムーズに運んでね。
Young waiters with bow ties got bottles of beer ready for a toast. Who the fuck toasts with beer? There are several dozen tables with white tablecloths on them in a banquet room. Approximately 8 people are sitting at each table, so there are at least a few hundred people there. The banquet room is teeming with excitement. There are many plates with different kinds of foods on each table. You ever gone drinking, bro? Bro, anytime I go drinking, it's with fucking Asians, and all they drink is fucking soju. A sushi platter, a sashimi platter, a fruit platter. Also, along the wall, there are cooks ready to serve fresh sashimi. Ooh. All the guests appear to be well-mannered gentlemen, and obviously, they are notable people from different fields. The huge and beautiful chandelier above them clearly tells that this hotel holds a status good enough for those famous people. An elderly gentleman is giving a long speech on the stage before making a toast. Usually people don't like such long speeches, especially if it's before a toast, but the guests are actually excited with his speech. Well, maybe fervor was a pleasant way to put it. It was probably more accurate to say their excitement was bizarre. Anyway, Japan accepted the demand for unconditional surrender, and the day they did, the Pacific War ended. In other words, even if they had to take care of further business, the war ended that day according to international law. From that day on, there was peace. Therefore, if any troops invaded Japanese land during that peace, that would be an encroachment against Japan. No matter what the Soviet Union says, northern territories are Japanese land, and it should be clear to everyone that they invaded illegally. Hear, hear. And now they want to say, by the way, chat, I don't want to fucking Higurashi you here real quick, but did you know there's an argument to be made that the Japanese didn't actually surrender because of the nukes on Hiroshima and Nagasaki? There's an argument that's made that the Japanese, like, waited, and it was more so that the Soviet, they had more of a worry that Soviet forces would basically do a land invasion. And they just basically preferred surrendering, especially to U.S. occupation, than to Soviet occupation. And because of what they've heard Stalin does. Like, that was like a big, like, balancing factor apparently that the Emperor of Japan, like, considered. Does he want to surrender to the U.S. or surrender to the Soviets, you know? So... Well, no shot they were gonna do that with Hitler croaking around them. No. That's not the point, right? It was more so that they were specifically just more scared of Stalin than another nuke. My dad already told me that. My dad's a fan of war history. Yeah, basically, Stalin was scarier than a nuclear bomb to Japan, is like a possible interpretation of the surrender. Who do they think they're kidding? Listen, Habomai, Shikotan, Kunashira, and Iturup are Japanese territory. Their total area is equal to an entire prefecture. What would you think if the Soviets invaded and occupied one of our prefectures? Would you settle for just getting half of the prefecture back? No, you wouldn't. You'd have the entirety returned to you. Yet the Soviets are brazenly sitting there claiming vested rights to the land. This is no joke. We must strongly oppose this to the bitter end. Return all the northern islands. Our nation must demonstrate unwavering resolve on that point. Thunderous applause filled the banquet room. All the gentlemen agreed and expressed that they felt the same way by cheering him on. And all that hubbub. Oh shit, new music? Huh? There were 2 people standing by the wall who didn't seem to fit in with the rest. They were wearing sharp-looking suits, and while a little too old to be called young men, they were certainly young compared to all the elderly gentlemen in the banquet room.
どうして政治家ってこう説教臭いというか若者軽視というかこう簡単なことさ。
Oh my god, it's Akasaka!
政治家が一番欲しいのは票だ。票は有権者が投じる。だが20歳以上が
Wait, this song played through the Akasaka scene? Oh shit. But not everyone over 20 actually
投
votes.
票率のほとんどは退職して時間にゆとりがあり、その分政治に関心の高い高齢者が占めている。
となれば高齢者層をいかに取り込むかというのが選挙のポイントになるわけですね。
The war only happened 40 years ago. In other words, the generation that's interested in voting is the generation from before the war.
うちの袋よく空襲の話をします。昔は水道橋のあたりに住んでて空襲で家族を全員失って焼け野原を一人さまよったなんて話をいつも。
そうさ。
Did they just lose budget on like half the voice lines? Like, why do they like only half speak the lines in this chapter? Our parents went through the war. They shed their blood, sweat, and tears, believing it was for the good of the nation. We lost a war, but they believed the war still brought about change that serves as a foundation for the peace we have today. I hear that a lot, that if Japan hadn't fought in the war, the Asian countries would still be Western colonies. Oh, you think it's censorship because of the war discussion? There's no way we could have won, but we needed to fight in that war or something like that. In that case, how much they preach pacifism, politicians can't ignore the pre-war generation. War is bad and we should never again fight a war. But that war was necessary. Unless they say things like that, it's like they're denying the very lives that generation lived.
なる政治家も票を取るのに大変なんですね。
そういう主義主張も本心でしているから一意見の主張として立派だと思う。だが彼らの票が欲しくて表向きだけ調子を合わせてる卑劣な政治家もいる。そういう迎合的な政治家が後を絶たない限り解雇主義は永遠に終わらないのさ。
そうして若者とお年寄りの意識の格差は多分1000年経っても相変わらず。
They'll just keep repeating that. Okay, so like literally any sentence with war is censored. Is it? Wow, really? They'll just keep repeating that the war was justified yet regrettable every time an election takes place. When will our country ever be free from that cycle?
若者がちゃんと選挙に行け。そして安易な迎合にごまかされず。
Wait, this sentence has war?
考えてるやつに投票しろ。実現可能な政策だぞ。
ああ、いますね。明らかに実現不可能な公約を掲げている候補者っています。あ、赤塚さん、F 択ってあれじゃないですか。
F table?
行くぞ。
She is. The speech had ended and the elderly gentlemen were giving the man on the stage a standing ovation. The 2 men walked through the crowd and pushed an old lady in a kimono.
はい、私ですけれども。
昨日お電話で約束させていただきましたことです。赤坂と申します。
主人はね、ずっと日本のためにと身を粉にして働いてきたんですのよ。それなのに
奥さんの胸中深くお察しします。
This wasn't really anything out of the ordinary. Nobody could remember if there had been a donation or not, so a handful of politicians were questioned. As a result, some came up with a scheme to blame a sickly elderly man who had already retired, with only a short time to live anyway. He was the perfect fit for them. The elderly man had already been sick in bed, and the shock of his friends betraying him had taken away his will to live. The only thing his wife could do was to simply watch him suffer. She kept crying while telling the men about her husband's
ご
achievements.
主人の無実が間違いなければ必ずや裁判官は正義の判決を下すでしょう。大丈夫です。濡れ衣は必ず晴らせます。
そんなのは分かっています。だって無実なんですから。でもね、判決が出るまでお国のためにとあれだけ働いてきて、こんな気持ちで死ねなんて、あれじゃあ死んでも死にきれません。
What are you looking at? Akasaka nodded and tried to find the right words to say to her. His colleague rummaged through a pile of paperwork behind him. The papers were filled with fine print, and it would be hard for an onlooker to tell exactly what they were. However, the way he was looking at them made it very clear that they contained something important.
赤坂さん、こいつはすごい資料です。金の動きが完全に網羅されてます。
Akasaka gave him a signal to remind him that this wasn't the place to be looking through these
奥
documents.
さん、この他には書類束のようなものはありませんね。
主人の金庫に入っていた文書はそれで全てです。どうかそれで恩知らずな連中に一泡吹かせてやってください。あれだけ主人に世話になっておきながら。
奥さん、この文章の内容には一部ご主人にとって不利益な内容も含まれていますが、それはご存知ですね。
ええ、それは政治はね、きれい事だけじゃないんです。私だって政治家の妻ですのよ。
ご協力を感謝します。この書類は必ず巨大な不正を暴くために使用します。
一つだけよろしいですか。それを公表するのは
You better not go too far. I'm
主
gonna put that
人が
coat
亡
back
くな
on
る
you.
まで待ってもらえませんか。
Paperwork Akasaka received was something her husband intended to take to the grave with him. Something that shouldn't exist in this world. If it went public, her husband's name would be disgraced. Akasaka
わか
nodded.
りました。誓ってお約束します。
Vast public funds were moving from Kasumi Gaseki. Keseki? The funds were issued to sub-branches to carry out national policies, but various ideas over those public funds always came together, and there was never an end to those trying to poke a straw into it to suck it out like a mosquito. Excess dividends, cordial patronage, profits for organizations benefited themselves. Many financiers approached and adhered to officials and politicians hoping to earn those gains. And the bureaucrats constantly indulged them. That's how Japanese corruption works. These illegal pipes run bypass after bypass in Kasumi Gaseki, siphoning off public funds for their profit. To find and destroy such pipes is, of course, in the national interest. But eliminating illegal expenditures isn't as simple as all that. There are important people connected to those pipes, and when those people are investigated, a major political scandal takes place. The reason why the government doesn't investigate such illegal expenditures is not only to protect vested interests, but also because they are conscious of the damage these scandals can cause politically. To put it more succinctly, the government can't endure the pain of pushing pus out of a wound. The closer the exposed subject is to the top, the greater the pain faced by the government, and that affects the cabinet approval rating. The closer the subject is to the core, the more extensive the damage to the heart. The secret investigation Akasaka was leading went as close to the heart as it got and could cause the collapse of the administration from shock. I don't know, bro. He's just like digging something. digging that pillow. Akasaka was tipped off that a huge amount of public funding was leaking out through an alumni organization of the 7 imperial universities, so he and his colleagues had been conducting a secret investigation into the matter for a long time. His target was tightly knit, but he learned the wife of one of the organization's senior members bore strong resentment towards them after her husband was made their scapegoat, and he managed to contact her. And because of that, he had gotten his hands on extremely important information.
Minna ご苦労さん。だいぶ外堀が埋まってきたようだね。特に赤坂くんが入手した資料は相当ショッキングなものだよ。ずいぶん苦労したでしょう。お疲れさん。
いえ。
Small meeting room was filled with boxes that were in turn filled with documents. A whiteboard was filled with cramped writing too. A few of the investigators in the meeting room, which was also filled with smoke, were reading the documents intensely. Their intimidating manner clearly indicated that they were police officers with a great deal of experience. Akasaka was one of those men. It had been a while since Mamoru Akasaka was transferred to this department. When he worked on the case of the kidnapping of Minister Inukai's grandson, he had been a rookie, but by now he was an experienced investigator. After a knock on the door, an elderly man entered the room. Everyone straightened up all at once.
室長、お疲れ様です。
お疲れさん。立たなくていい。楽に。諸君に今日は素晴らしいプレゼントを持ってきたぞ。カノ、お前を息子の授業参観に行かせてやる。
The meeting room was filled with sighs, tinged with exasperation and resignation. It certainly wasn't because any of them hated getting to go to Parents' Day.
やっぱりな、そろそろ頃合いだと思ってたんですよ。くそ。
Akasaka's colleague complained. They had been so close to getting to the root of the issue, they had such strong evidence. Akasaka on his part wasn't too disturbed. This had happened several times in the past, and considering how hot the documents he obtained were, it was easy enough to predict. The case was suddenly transferred to another department. That meant their investigation ended here. The new department was supposed to continue the investigation to expose injustices, but that's never happened once before. It was just an excuse. The investigation had been terminated because of pressure from above. These sons of bitches.
くそったね。俺たちが今日まで捜査してきたのは何の
海を出す痛みがどの程度か測るためだろうな。その結果、痛みに耐えられない規模だということが分かり、荒領事を断念したってことだろう。
These corrupt motherfuckers. In that sense, their hard work wasn't wasted. Because of it, the investigation was terminated. Akasaka understood that, but his colleague wasn't mature yet and mature enough to understand. Of course, Akasaka's sense of justice was displeased by this. He felt frustrated with his superiors who had hesitated to expose the truth. But he was mature enough to know not to say that out
資
loud.
料の整理と引き継ぎについては今後向こうと調整していく。
Bro, he's not scratching his eyes. Look at him. Hey, motherfucker. Dore. What the hell are you doing? Stop licking your balls. You don't have any. We'll organize what we have and hand it over to the other end later.
とりあえずみんな長く休んでないだろう。5時を待たなくていいぞ。残務整理は明日話し合い。あと振り替え休暇の消化をしよう。ちゃんと消化して神さん孝行しろよ。主査は俺と来てくれ。以上だ。
Yes, sir. Though his long secret investigation left a bad taste in his mouth, with its resolution, he managed to earn a holiday until the next incident arrived.
室長のお言葉に甘えますかね。みんな、今日は早く帰って休みな。
こういう時早帰りすると不倫の現場に出くわしたりしちゃうんですよね。
Whoa, whoa, whoa.
バカだな。お前知らないだろう。赤坂さんとこは熱愛夫婦だぞ。毎晩別当の公衆電話からラブコールかけてるの知ら。
赤坂んところはいいよな。うちの女房なんてそりゃそっけないもんだよ。
Akasaka smiled bitterly as he gathered the documents in his hands. One of the pages fell to the floor. It was a page from a huge pile of papers documenting illegal expenditures. They exposed the illegal expenditures of the Alphabet Project, the research team for the next generation of hardware in the Defense Agency. It was entirely possible that this project was created in the first place for the purpose of funneling these illegal expenditures. When he saw the paper, one thing caught Akasaka's eye. He picked it up, looked at it. Hinamizawa. Tried to remember. It was a list of people who legally received public funds. It was also a list of retirees who were still very much in love with money. There should have been no connection between those people and Akasaka. However, there was one thing that caught his attention.
Irie Shinryōsho.
Oh. As soon as he said it, all sorts of memories resurfaced. Yes, the EDA clinic. When he was working on the case of Minister Inukai's grandson abduction, he got into a scuffle with a suspect and became injured. He was taken to the local clinic. As he recalled, the name of that clinic was the EDA clinic. He started to remember one thing after another. His very first experience with wading into the muck. It was burnt into his mind like a fresh memory, and he could vividly recall everything that happened. His daughter was about to be born, and he didn't really want to go to Hinamizawa. He met Oishi, who taught him a lot of important things. He also met a girl in that village. Her name was, yes, Rika Furude. That was it. How long had it been? How old was she now? As he remembered her lovely smile, he also remembered the ominous prediction she made. She had predicted that if he didn't go back to Tokyo, something terrible would happen. At the time, he took it as nonsense, but he felt something odd about it, as if it was a divine omen. Then he had remembered Yuki, who was about to give birth. He became concerned that something terrible would happen to her, but he couldn't just leave and go back to Tokyo. That's why he called her right away. He told her something would happen. He told her to be very careful until he returned. Yuki had laughed and told him he was being paranoid, but that phone call indeed saved her from a calamity. Akasaka had found out about that when he visited her after returning to Tokyo. A few days after his phone call, a janitor was seriously injured when he stepped on a loose tile on the stairs on his way to the rooftop. He also heard afterwards that Yuki had a habit of going up to the roof for a walk every day, but because of his phone call, she had stopped doing it. If he hadn't called her, she would have been the one to step on the loose tile. In other words, Rika Furude's prediction had been correct. There was no proof, but Akasaka still believed that he was able to save Yuki only because of Rika Furude's prediction. He'd intended to call and thank her for saving Yuki, but the busy days that followed put it out of his mind. Rika-chan. He wondered if she was still doing well, if she was still smiling. Nope. She's died about 5 million times. Akasaka remembered a sad prediction she made on that night under the moon while still wearing that smile. That's right, she said something. She predicted someone would get killed on the night of the festival every year, and that on the 5th year in, she'd be the one to be killed. That's right, he thought she did say that. The 5th year, that's this year. The festival is... That's right, it's in June. If he remembered correctly, it happens on the last Sunday of the month. Akasaka looked at the calendar. It was June 1983. Although there was still some time, the death she predicted for herself was coming up. The girl who had predicted Yuki's accident also prophesied a mysterious incident would occur annually for the next 5 years. If they'd actually been happening, then it would happen again this year. Akasaka wondered if Oishi was still at Okinomiya PD. If the annual incident still predicted actually was taking place, he would know. In other words, he would confirm if Rika Furude was going to be killed or not with a phone call to Oishi. The girl who predicted her own death had muttered that she didn't want to die. Muttered? No. It was clearly a plea for help. A young girl who was trapped in the fathomless, bizarre traditions of a village she couldn't escape had sought help from him, an outsider. She paid his reward in advance, in the form of foreseeing Yuki's accident. He had to get to her. He had to go save her. A flood of emotions filled him up. He felt as though he had finally remembered something he was never supposed to forget. That's right. He had to go to Hinamizawa. He had to save the girl who asked him for help.
はい、沖宮署でございます。
すみません。そちらの刑事課に現在も大石クラウド氏は在籍されておりますでしょうか。もしもいらっしゃったならお願いしたいのですが。
失礼ですが、どちら様でしょうか。
警視庁の赤坂とお伝えください。
Oishi was a very lively person, but he'd been old even back then. Maybe he had already transferred somewhere else, or maybe he's since retired. But if he was still there, he'd be happy to hear from Akasaka. He sure had a unique laugh.
おいさん、外線からお電話です。東京の警視庁からですよ。
東京？そりゃまた遠くからはるばるどちら様ですかね。はい、もしもし。
Akasaka!
こりゃ懐かしい。どうです、お元気にしてましたか。な
There's that stupid fucking laugh. Okay, Oishi Akasaka team up? Hanyu has already grown used to being around us. Since Rika-chan and Satoko are her age, she's become especially close with them. Of course, Rena and Mion are looking after her too. Rena told me something the day Hanyu joined the class. She said that Hanyu had been close to us for a long time and that she's been watching us play, that she's always wanted to join us. I still can't remember seeing her before, but somehow I can believe it. Hanyu has accepted all the things that surprised me at first as if she knew about them all along. She knows everything about us. And it seems she's truly excited about finally being able to join in.
羽生もすっかり僕たちの仲間に溶け込みましたのです。
だな。なんだかずっと前からそうだったように感じるよ。そんなはずはないのにな。
そんなことありませんです。ずっと僕たちのそばにいましたですよ。
あれ、リカちゃんもそんなこと言うんだな。レナも言ってたよ。俺だけが気づいてなかったのかな。
圭一は鈍感だからきっと気づかなかったに違いないのです。
Rude.
みー。
ち、どうせ俺は鈍感ですよだ。
はわわお。リカと圭一が座り込んでいますのです。疲れましたですか？羽生が疲れ知らずなだけなのです。僕たちは遊びすぎてヘトヘトなのですよ。だって僕はずっとみんなと一緒に遊びたかったから、これくらいでは遊び足りないのです。もっともっと遊びますですよ。はわわ
う。元気だな。ところで羽生さ、その頭のそれ、遊んでて落ちちゃわないのか？
Hanyu has horns on her head. I thought that it was her hair accessory of sorts, so I didn't want to her to lose it while playing. I was going to offer to hold it for her while she ran around. But Hanyu's face clouded over and she apologetically held onto the horns.
圭一、羽生のは取れませんのです。
え？あ、そうなのか？変なこと言ってごめん。
やっぱり角なんかがあるとおかしいでしょうか。
Yes?
おかしくなんかないよ。キュートでかいよ。
I mean, if we're being honest, yes, a human being shouldn't have horns.
そうそう。ケイちゃんなんか股間に角が生えてるしね。
Mia?
硬くて反り返ったのが。
Wait a sec.
股間の角ってなんだろう。相変わらずレナさんのパンチだけは見切れませんわね。大丈夫ですのミオンさん。顔面がへこんでますわよ。
Everyone laughed except Hanyu, who didn't seem to get it. I shouldn't have said anything. I bet she doesn't like to talk about her horns. But if I try to apologize, I think it'll get more complicated. As I thought about what to say, Rena took the girls over to the shrine gate.
気にしなくていいのですよ。圭一、羽生も気にしないようにしているのですが、まだ修行が足りないということなのです。
Training?
やっぱ気にしてたんだな。すまん。これからは気をつけるぜ。
羽生は大昔にこのひなみ沢にやってきました。
あ、やっぱりそうだったんだ。だよな。村の中のことを転校生にしちゃ随分詳しかったしな。
羽生がひなみ沢に住む前、どこに住んでいたのかはよく知りません。
Hey, motherfucker, I warned you if you're not gonna stay in my line of sight. We're coning you. Hey, come back. Shock cone? It's not a shock cone. No, I'm not gonna take it off. You have to keep it on. It's for your own good, Dodi. You scratched your eye. I don't know where she lived before she came here. I asked her once, but all she said was it was a place I wouldn't understand. Hanyu said that she, or rather Hanyu's people, couldn't live there anymore. They looked for a new place to live for a long time. They traveled a very long way before arriving in Hinamizawa. There was a beautiful swamp in the area, and that was exactly what Hanyu's people were looking for. But there was a village nearby where people lived. To show respect to the original inhabitants of an area was the law among wandering people like Hanyu's. Her clan decided to live peacefully and coexist with the villagers. However, their attempts to coexist didn't go so well. The villagers were too childish and immature to accept these newcomers. They strongly rejected them and caused a terrible, tragic disaster. Hanyu said she took their form and descended upon this land in order to subdue the disaster. However, she just couldn't hide her own. Bro, sometimes I just I don't even watch TV or something, anything. I just watch what the fuck this rat dog does. The things he does is just so funny. However, she just couldn't hide her horns. The forbidden ancient documents say that Hanyu descended into the Furude shrine, appeared as she does today. It also states the following. Hanyu's people can't live anywhere other than this village. They can also only live by coexisting with the villagers. For the rest of Hanyu's people, the Furude Shrine's priests once rejected them, claiming that coexistence was impossible if mixing with the wandering people's blood caused the villagers to become demons. But the young heir of the Furude Shrine fell in love with Hanyu, and when their child was born, the priests had to reconsider. What the hell? Hanyu's a fucking mother? Oh, wandering people who cannot hide your horns, if you wish to settle in this land, if you wish to settle with our blood, then I shall consider granting your wish. However, as the demon's blood mixed with the villagers, it became hard to tell who was human and who was demon. The villagers began to cast suspicion on one another, haunted by that paranoia. Unless all of that was resolved, coexistence would be impossible. For you and us to coexist, we must lay down several laws for us to follow. They will be very strict. I am very, very sorry for imposing these upon you, who have lived in peace until now. However, as long as those rules are followed, the village will be freed from demonic disaster. Very well, the rules will be followed, but much blood has already been shed in the village. The anger, sins, and corruption people bear cannot be cleansed. The one law of the human world is that sins are atoned for with life. I see. If you say it's your way to let someone take on all responsibility and bury the sins with him, then we'll do that. However, wouldn't people end up pushing responsibility on each other because nobody wants to die? Exactly. That's the ugly demon in the world of man. No one will accept their own sins, but only foist them onto each other. Since they can only clear the balance with their lives, everyone refuses to pay and the sins just keep adding up. Without cleansing them, they stagnate and people cast them upon each other, forever doubting each other and passing them around. I see. If that is the unopposable law of this world and you yourselves are troubled by this law, then in exchange for it coexisting with us, I shall grant you a world where people do not blame their sins on each other. What kind of world is it? So long as mankind exists, they will commit sins and give rise to corruption. How could that all be erased without foisting it onto someone else? Let me bear all the sins and corruption born from man, and purify my soul. Let all sins rest not with man. If they are born upon myself, then man will not need to force them on each other. What are you saying? Are you really going to make yourself into sacrifice? Bro, Hanyu is Jesus. Someone has to take on the sins, otherwise they won't be cleansed. That's the law of your world, isn't it? A different ancient document also states the following. Of course, it's a forbidden one, too. Only the head of the Furude family is allowed to read it. Nobody else, not even the other heads of the 3 families. It tells that unrest grew in people's minds, that the villagers' evil hearts collected in the swamp and gave rise to demons. The Furude Shrine's priests explained that the root of all evil is the demon god of the swamp and led the young villagers there. By the swamp, they found a demon mocking the unrest in people's hearts. The young villagers fought bravely, captured the demon, dragged it to the Furude Shrine. Priests cleansed the demon god, opened her abdomen, and dragged out her organs. He chopped them up and washed them down the stream, then threw the body in the swamp. Then people regained their sanity. Those who had been suspicious of each other became friendly, and they all shared in the joy of peace again. These forbidden ancient documents are real, then the object of the villagers' worship, Oyashiro-sama, was captured by the villagers, forced to bear all those sins, and torn to death. Plus, it's clearly written that the demons appeared after unrest grew in people's hearts. In other words, the demons were forced to bear the sin of discord that rested with man long before they arrived. Oishiro-sama was a god who took on people's sins to mend conflicts between them. People eventually came to honor her, and it's said that became the foundation of faith in Oishiro-sama. I don't understand exactly what that means, but I know one thing. When none of us humans would draw the losing straw, she offered to draw it in our stead. To prove it, we cleansed our filth by letting cotton absorb it and drift it down the stream during the Watanagashi festival. There's no shame or shifting of responsibility involved. Until that system was created, we were simply demons who pushed our filth and our responsibility on each other. We could only cleanse our own sins by blaming someone else and sacrificing him by cutting open his abdomen. And Hanyu took on that job, a purification ceremony without a human life. A system that forgives people for their sins. That is the origin of the cult of Oishiro-sama, which blames not people for their sins, but the curse. Those documents were sealed away. If they weren't, people would find out that the object of their own faith was falsely blamed and killed by their own ancestors. Hanyu apologizes. She takes in people's sins and keeps apologizing. When people can't deal with their own sins anymore, she accepts them. When Hanyu takes over, people are cleansed and they are allowed to keep living. Demons take on sins by becoming cotton to absorb them. They are exterminated and washed down the stream, and then the village is forgiven. They are forgiven for their sins. If that's all true, then Hanyu, or rather Oyashiro-sama, is such a tragic existence. I've asked Hanyu about this before, and she told me the following story. 4 people are stuck in a snowy mountain cabin. They play a game where each sit in one of the 4 corners. It's a fairly well-known story. It's in the middle of winter. They're all getting sleepy. If they fall asleep, they'll die. So one of them comes up with an idea. They're sitting in the 4 corners of the room, so someone just has to walk clockwise to the next corner and wake up the person sitting in that corner. The one who just walked will sit in that corner, and the one who just woke up will get up, walk to the next corner, and wake up the person sitting there. If they keep doing that, nobody will fall asleep. People who know the story won't need an explanation, but this doesn't work with 4 people. When the first person gets up, their corner becomes empty. So after everyone takes turns, the 4th person goes to the next corner, which is an empty one. They sit down and fall asleep, so the game is over right there, and everyone freezes to death. Wait, that's true. Hang on. Visual aid. There's person here, person here, person here, person here. Person here leaves, goes here. But then this person leaves, goes here. This person leaves, goes here. This person leaves to go here. But now there's nobody here to tell to go to the next. Ah. Okay. I don't get it. Are you guys dented? What do you mean? Here. I'll make it real simple. Okay? So, this means there's someone there, right? This means someone's there. Okay, each of the 4 corners. Yeah? Say this is a room. Cabin. Okay? So, when this person goes here, now there's 2 people here, right? But this person then is told to go to the next one to wake up this guy. And then this guy wakes up to go tell this guy to wake up. And then this guy goes to here, but there's no one to wake up here. So unless this guy just doubly doesn't sleep and goes all the way to this corner to tell this guy to go over. Like this, or like this, right? So one would always, each cycle, one would always have to double work, right? So, yeah. In other words, to play this game, you need more than 4 people. You need 1 more person in order to be saved. People usually tell this as a ghost story. They usually say that this was actually a group of 5, but 1 was already dead, and thanks to that ghost, they are able to continue living until the next morning. Hanyu once told me that she's like that 5th person. She can make everything run smoothly by joining a circle of people, then it's very similar to how the telephone game in the mountain cabin managed to function without breaking. Hanyu can complete a circle that can't be realized by people alone. Then those people can live peacefully. She's an existence that completes a circle. Is she bothered by her horns because it reminds her of that time when she was called a demon and punished for the sins she took in? Is her subconscious still tormenting her with thoughts that those who have horns ought to be persecuted?
あの角は生まれつきです。それを意味嫌われ、いじめられたこともありましたのです。
そうなんか？そりゃますます悪いことを言っちまったな。
Yeah, you fucking idiot, Keiichi.
そして羽生はその角があるがゆえに全ての罪を引き受け生産するというとても大きなお役目を引き受け全うし神と崇められたのです。
Why has Rika gotta mention all that god shit?
僕の独り言なのです。忘れて大丈夫なのですよ。
It's confusing people for no reason. Nobody knows who Hanyu really is. Is she really a divine existence that descended from a higher place? Or is she simply an unlucky girl who became a sacrifice just because she had a pair of horns? Nobody knows, but this girl's blood was blended with the Furude family's blood, and that blood has descended into me. Or legends state that if the Furude family is a girl for the firstborn child for 8 generations in a row, that 8th child will be a reincarnation of Oyashiro-sama. I don't know exactly what that means. But I'm that 8th generation. Is that why I was the only person who could see Hanyu? 8 generations is a very long time. Maybe that's how long it took for all the sins Hanyu assumed to be cleared. 8 represents infinity. It's a very lucky number. That's why I was born in August, because I'm lucky. 8 for August. Often curses uttered will contain, I'll curse you for 7 generations, but the 8 lies beyond that. In other words, 8 possesses such a good fortune that it can forgive great curses and sins that span 7 generations. It's a number with power. It's a time Hanyu needed to cleanse all the sins she took in from the humans. Hanyu and her people simply wanted to coexist with us. But Hanyu had to become a sacrifice. Her stomach was cut open and its contents washed downstream. Then she was thrown into the swamp. Wait, true, Higu also has 8 chapters. Oh my god. They waited for a very long time for her to come back. They kept our traditions alive, waiting forever and ever for her to return. According to legend, the name Furude was made by adding a horn to the character for fortune teller. The Furude family arose when Hanyu's bloodline was combined with that of human beings. Hanyu is the ancestor of the Furude family, as well as the mother of us all. When I was little, Hanyu taught me a little more things than my mother did. It's no wonder. I'm her descendant. The curse on the clan who exorcised and buried their very own mother was finally absolved after 8 generations, what seemed like eternity. And then she met me, her descendant, the final generation of the Furude family. Sometimes when I think about that, I feel like there must be some important meaning to this hapless fate thrust upon me. What kind of meaning could the trial I face, the trial of breaking through the obstacle sealing my fate, have upon the curse that plagued Hanyu and the Furude family for over a millennium? 1,000 years is simply too long a period to communicate thoughts and intentions correctly. Hanyu has become the curse we call Oishiro-sama. Though she originally was a means of salvation, she has become a chain that binds people. The rules about coexisting were misinterpreted as a law that binds villagers to this place, and that continued until the Meiji era. And while the village wins once again below towards the misunderstanding of isolation thanks to the dam conflict, how does that play into my meeting with Hanyu and this motley fate we're trapped in? I haven't lived long enough to be able to understand that. The only thing I can say for sure is that the Furude family originated when Hanyu's bloodline mixed with that of humans, and the line's final descendant, me, finally met with its ancestor. The Furude bloodline bears a cursed history of placing all of man's sins onto its mother and killing her. Now the beginning and end of that line have met. Hanyu always wanted to join everyone, yet she couldn't hide her horns. Even so, she still wished to be an existence that completes a circle. It's a child's job to bury their parents. But mother, I've never heard that it's a child's job to kill and bury their parents. Don't ask, child. I'm not human. My horns are proof that I'm a demon. A demon's job is to take on the calamities of the human world. Burying the calamities of this chaotic world and cleansing the unrest is mankind's hearts. In mankind's hearts is my role. Then mother, why do you have to be the one? People's sins are people's sins. They aren't yours. Listen, child. People live with their sins. They can't live without making someone else take the blame. Nobody wants to take the blame, so they've shifted that responsibility around. That is a demon, the true demon disrupting the world of man. By burying it in myself, man may be cleansed and mankind can be freed from the destiny of doubt and conflict. Let all the sins, the filth, the karma, and the curse come to me. Then attack me, purify me, wash me down the stream, and throw me in the swamp. A human will not do. So it is the fate of one not human to accept the role. If a human were to bear it, then mankind would not be freed from the demon of doubt. I don't understand. I don't understand, mother. Mother, you have horns. Are you saying that you aren't human just because you have horns? That even if you are human, the horns make you non-human? Even if you have horns, you're human to me. My child, you're the only one who's ever said that. Even if everyone calls me the XXX or the XXXX, you'll still call me human. What is passed down in the Furude's many forbidden scrolls, the ones unknown to even the heads of the 3 families, sealed in the altar and the shrine storage. Understanding that would probably require about as much time as I spent repeating time. Yet once you understand that, perhaps you'll better understand the smile Hanyu wears as she innocently plays with everyone. I heard Mion yell in surprise. Something must have happened.
なんだどうしたんだ
羽生さんがそこでふざけてて転んで斜面を転げ落ちていったんですわ。羽生さん、大丈夫？
She's dead. Oishiro-sama just died.
綺麗に転がってったけど、捻挫とかしてないかな。よ
行こう行こう。
Hanyu, I've been playing on a slope and tumbled down it. There's a road just below the slope. Mion and the others went down the stairs to get to her. Let's go. I hope she isn't injured. Oh boy, this bitch.
これはどういうことなんだい？急に彼女が転がり落ちてきてね。
You think Takano's gonna recognize Hanyu?
でも頭をゴチンとやってしまったみたいだから後でコブになってしまうかもね。よく冷やしておいた方がいいわよ。
羽生私たちの声が聞こえます？ほら、指は何本に見えますの？
She sounded disorientated, but didn't appear to be injured. What a relief for her. What a relief for everyone. I bet she's just feeling dizzy from rolling.
でもよかったね。怪我がなくて。
いやはや。しかし、転がってった先に看護師さんがいてくれたなんてできすぎだね。
Yeah, real lucky to have fucking Takano, the fucking demon nurse.
あら、非番の時の私は野鳥撮影家なのよ。ねえ、次郎さ
ん。まあね、そういうことさ。
まあ、ひなみざわっこならこのくらいで怪我はできねえよな。羽生も
Look at the picture I sent you.
ひなみざわの仲間ってことだぜ。
What the fuck? The Sanrio Hello Miku. Good Smile Company car. Hello Miku, Good Smile Racing and Sanrio. Yeah, but it's a fucking oh wow. Wait, look at their license plate. Damn. Wait, how'd they get that? They got the license plate too? Okay. Damn. Alright. In other words, you're already one of us, Hanyu.
羽生ちゃんっていうの？
Come on. There we go.
見かけない子ね。
Oh yeah, bitch? Yes, you have.
新しいお友達？
ええ、そうですわよ。月曜日に転校してきたばかりなんですのよ。
これ何？
Uh-oh.
変わってるわね。
Uh-oh.
おもちゃ？
Takano-san tried to poke at one of Hanyu's horns. They'd be an interesting hair accessory if they were an accessory.
それは羽生ちゃんのチャームポイ
Hey,
ントなので
Toadster, thank you for the
ダ
prime.
メなんです。
あら、そうなの？私はあまり可愛くないと思うんだけど。
You bitch. Take that back.
だってほら、化け物みたいじゃない？
Nah, we gotta kill. Nah, listen, Hanyu, hyper beam her right now. Use your demon powers. Suddenly, Hanyu moaned as if suffocated. Bro, how is Takano like the epitome of rage baiters? Modern day rage baiters. You think she was designed that way? She's just a walking rage baiter.
高野、羽生は化け物じゃありませんです。二度と言ったら許さないのです。
そうだよ、高野さん。人の趣味に悪いよ。
Right here, right now, all of the kids, bro, it's fucking Tomitake is a pussy. He will not help. Right? You guys can kill Takano right here.
ごめんなさいね。決してそんなつもりはなかったんだけど。
Rika-chan said it rather firmly. I'm sure Hanyu doesn't want to hear that word. Sometimes Sakano-san says things in a derogatory way without realizing it herself. But I guess there are things you can't or shouldn't say. Hanyu was looking at Takano-san with a complicated look on her face. Hanyu, get back our Takano right now. Say she dresses like a fucking prostitute. After seeing that expression, Takano-san realized she might have hurt her feelings. She apologized and left with Toмотaki-san.
大丈夫？羽生、綺麗に転げ落ちたから大して怪我はないそうです。リカ、今の人、今の人、高野ですよ。
Wait, Rika doesn't remember!
高野。
Hanyu repeated Takano-san's name. All of a sudden, I grew worried that she hit her head or something. Hanyu stood straight up and grabbed Rika-chan's collar.
Rika!
Speak English, Hanyu! Stop saying ow ow ow!
高野です。高野。そうですよ。高野ですよ。違う、リカ。高野です。高野。覚えてないのですか？知ってるわよ。高野美代でしょ。入江診療所の。思い出せない。ごめん、羽生。何の話？
No, she doesn't remember.
リカ、そんな。
This is the last one. The last one. She finally imprinted herself with the true enemy's name while enduring the pain of her stomach being cut open, and yet she can't remember. Rika Furude has failed to inherit the memory of the fragments. No. Rika, you fucking idiot! Lock in! No, bro. No, pipe down, Oishi. Okay, surely Akasaka doesn't get sniped like Oishi did.
おかわりなくなんてひどいですな。最近リンゴダイエットっていうのを始めましてね。ちょいと体重が絞れてきたつもりだったんですがね。
No, you look exactly the fucking same, buddy.
そういう赤坂さんはこれまた見違えるくらいたくましくなったじゃないですか。
この程度には鍛えてないと体が持ちませんので。
あれ、クロちゃん、その人、あの人かい？何年か前にうちに来た東京の公安の。
本田屋さん、ご無沙汰。その説はお世話になりました。
あんた、ずいぶんとまあ立派に成長しちゃったじゃないですか。かあ、若いっていいね。
さあ、せっかく来てくれたんです。もうお店に行っちゃいましょう。馴染みの店ですからのれん前でも入れてくれるでしょう。
Where? Angel Mort?
さあ行きましょう。
大井さん、いいんですか？まだ勤務時間中じゃないんですか？
何言ってんですか。東京本庁からいらっしゃられた特命刑事との特別研修ですよ。さあ行きましょう。ああ、ちょいと先に電話してきます。赤坂さんに比べたらカモネギみたいな連中ですがね。ちょいとメンツを揃えまして。ああ、いいところに。クマちゃん、今夜バチッとポンチーしに行きませんか？
大石さん、本当に変わっておられませんね。
Akasaka used to think Oishi wasn't serious enough about work, but after experiencing many different things in the real world, that preconception had completely disappeared. Oishi is that way because of his experience. It's not always the best to take things seriously. In this world, sometimes being that frank can help. In Akasaka's case, people often tell him to relax more. But in Oishi's case, maybe he should straighten out a little.
赤坂さん、行きましょう。
ええ、参りましょう。
いい返事です。だいぶベテランの余裕ができてきました。そうでなくちゃ。
The old Akasaka would have thought Oishi was making fun of him, but by now he could take it as an honest assessment.
赤坂さんもずいぶん強くなりましたね。なんだかお酒じゃ勝てない気がしてきましたよ。いやー、オイルと酒に弱くなるってのは本当ですな。
ご謙遜を。それに私が強いのは情報収集が下戸では務まらないからです。ちゃんと予算を切って常に若手と特訓してますから。日本酒、洋酒、紹興酒、のれんをくぐることもあればミラーボールのお店の時もありますよ。
そりゃいい、そりゃいい。今度ぜひ私も高知に参りますよ。
ええ、ぜひ享受してやってください。最近の若いのは自分は生まれつき飲めないとかひよったことばかり言ってますよ。私だって最初は全然ダメでしたがね。酒は飲めば飲むほどに強くなり、ますますに旨味がわかるようになるんです。
そうです、そうです。聞いてますか、クマちゃん。
面目ないっす。これでもだいぶ強くなったんですよ。
そうだの。大石と組まされたばかりの頃はお前乾杯からウーロン茶だったからの。
それはいけない。乾杯は重要な意味があるんです。そこでアルコールを飲まないというのは自分はこの飲み会に福があるって言ってるようなもんなんです。だから私はそんなことする若手どもにはきっちり指導してますよ。一気飲みしろって言ってんじゃない。とにかく最初の一杯だけは中ジョッキ。
When Akasaka first came to Okonomiya, he was very nervous. But there was no trace of that tension left in him. Seeing that, Oishi realized just how much Akasaka had learned in the past few years.
よっ、赤坂さんかっこいい。いや、もう本当に頼もしくなっちゃいましたね。私にとっては定年までの残り数年でしかなかった間に赤坂さんはこれほどたくましく成長したんですから。いやいや、老兵は去るべきだと痛感します。
そんなことはないです。
私も嫌になるくらい経験がものを言う世界というのを勉強しました。力仕事や現場仕事なんか私たち若造に任せて、大石さんのようなベテランにはぜひデスクで胸を張ってこき使ってもらいたいもんです。
ですってよ。聞いてますか、クマちゃん。
いたたたたたたた、すいません、すいません。頑張るっす。
大石、熊谷君も頑張っちょるぞ。めんどくさがりのお前さんに代わってよくまめに歩き回っとる。
大石さんはめちゃくちゃな人でしょ。私が大石さんと組んだのはほんの数日間だったんですが、でもね、大石さんがきっとあなたを鍛えてくれますから、最後まで信じてついていってください。
わかりました。頑張るっす。で でもお酒は鍛えられても麻雀までは無理っすよ。かみさんに給料を渡す前に大石さんに取られるんです。
いや、麻雀も経験なんです。打った場数が強さと自信になるんですよ。後でご一緒しましょう。まずは負けない打ち方を伝授します。
大石、いい若者だの。お前さんが無茶やってた頃にちょっとだけ似とるの。
まさかまさか。私はこんな二枚目じゃありませんでしたから。
It's unusual for Oishi to enjoy anyone's company this much. Yo, can we stop this fucking little men's meetup and fucking get to the issue at hand? We need to kill Takano. Akasaka and Oishi only worked together for a few days. They had exchanged some holiday cards since, but that was about it. Oishi had no idea how happy it would make him to see such a greenhorn grow into a dependable cop. Oishi always thought he wanted to be active until the day he retired. But after seeing such a dependable colleague, he began to think that maybe it was time for him to step down. Oishi and Akasaka enjoyed their reunion more than they thought they would. Oops. All the chairs were up on the tables and the owner's wife was cleaning the floor. There was nobody else around. Judging by the clock, it was almost 3 a.m.
グラちゃんたちは久しぶりの再会なんでしょ。ゆっくりしてっていいよ。帰る時だけ起こしてくれねえかな。鍵しなきゃなんねえから。
すんませんな、気を使わせちゃって。
There wouldn't be anything else open at such a late hour. Oishi and his colleagues still wanted to talk, so they decided to stay. Kumagai couldn't fight his sleepiness and was nodding off. They were talking about Akasaka's job. Akasaka works at a department specializing in public safety. Oishi and the others were interested in all his stories of danger and bravery.
それで、実はこちらに来たら、フルでリカという少女に会いたいと思っていたんです。
Oh boy.
フルでリカって、フルデ家の忘れがたみのリカちゃまですか？
忘れがたみということは、彼女の両親は
Rika Furude had predicted that there would be an incident in Hinamizawa every year for the following 5 years. Her parents, according to her, were supposed to be killed on the third year running.
あれはお社様のたたりの3年目ですから、昭和56年ですかね。フルデ夫妻がちょいと引っかかる形でお亡くなりになりまして、赤坂さんがひなみ沢に行かれてからちょうど3年後の話です。
3年後。私がひなみ沢を訪れてから3年後の6月のことなんですか？
ねえ、そうです。どうしました？何か気にかかることでも？
Akasaka shut his eyes tightly to chase away the alcohol in his brain and tried to remember the girl's prediction. He had, after all, come here to confirm it.
私が訪れたのは、その翌年にダム建設の監督が亡くなられたということは、そうだ。彼は私と麻雀を打った方のはず。あの方はその後どうなさっていますか？
新聞にドーンと載ったと思ったんですが、こっちの地方だけなのかな。その翌年に作業員たちとの喧嘩で殺されてしまいまして。
Rika Furude had predicted that he'd be killed in a gruesome way, that his body would be dismembered.
その遺体をバラバラにされたということは？
なんだ、知ってるじゃないですか。その通りです。未だ右腕が見つかりませんでね。お気の毒なことです。
The following year, on the same day in June 1980, Satoko's parents will be pushed to their deaths. Maybe it should be called an accident. A lamentable accident.
さらにその翌年、監督の殺人事件の確か聡子さんという多分その方のご両親が。
おや、お詳しいですね。そうです。ダムの賛成派だった北条夫妻が事故か事件か未だにはっきりしませんが。
And the following year, on the same day in June 1981, my parents will be killed.
そして、
はい、フルで理科のご両親が。ですが、どうもこいつも今一つ腑に落ちない事件でしてね。
お前さん、随分とお社様のたたり関係に詳しいの。この事件、地元の圧力であまり公にされとらんはずなんだが。
なんてことだ。
だが、いくらお前さんでも次の年は無理だろうの。何しろ4年目から秘匿捜査指定がかかっとる。
いえ、多分わかります。
The following year, on the same day in June 1982, Satoko's mean aunt will die. Her head will be smashed in.
その翌年ですから、つまり昨年です。先ほどの聡子さんの叔母にあたる方が頭部撲殺のような形で殺されてはいませんか。
そうです。ビンゴです。赤坂さん、どうしてそんなことまでご存知なんですか。
How do you, Akasaka?
多分私はさらにその翌年に殺される人物を知っています。
お前さん、何を言っとるんだ。第一、去年の翌年中たら、そら今年のことだろうが。
I'll be killed.
昭和58年6月、つまり今月です。フルでリカが殺されます。
Oishi and others were at a loss for words. Akasaka had talked about 4 mysterious incidents. Although he had been far away, he belonged to a very special unit of public safety. It could have been possible for him to find out about the secret investigations. That was why it wasn't that odd for Akasaka to mention the series of mysterious deaths, even though he had been far away from Hinamizawa. However, not only did he know about them, but he also named the next victim. Oishi and his co-workers had sobered up entirely. Oishi's like, this bitch Akasaka did this. He's the culprit.
これ以上はお互いしんどいんで、担当直入に行きましょう。今の話は一体どういう意味ですか。
はい、今の話は私がひなみ沢を訪れた昭和53年6月に彼女から聞かされたことなんです。
Bro, Oishi's probably like, this bitch, why didn't you tell me this before you left, motherfucker?
なんですって。
Oishi couldn't believe what he was hearing. He was left speechless.
信じられない気持ちはわかります。それを聞いた当時の私も幼い少女の気まぐれな予言遊びくらいに思いました。ですが彼女は5年目に自分が殺されることを私に訴えました。それはつまり今回ひなみ沢を訪れた最大の目的は彼女を訪ね、本当に今でも私の助けを必要としているのかを確かめるためだったんです。
赤坂さん、私はね、今年で定年なんです。連続開始事件の1年目に殺されたおやすさんの仇をどうしても年内に取りたいんです。ですから私はどんな些細な情報でだから一応確認させてください。今の話は冗談じゃ、なんかの冗談なら今のうちにそうだと言って。
私は真実しか言っていません。フルデリカはただ当時の私はそれは申し訳なく思います。
いや、それは無理もないぞ。そんな話 突然されても鵜呑みにできん。4年連続した今だから聞ける話だわい。
Oishi must have been thinking that if only Akasaka had told him that back then he could have saved his friend. But what the old man from forensics just said was right too. Oishi wouldn't have believed him back then. And his friend would have died anyway. And Oishi would have been left with regret at not being able to do
そう
anything.
ですね。いえ、すみませんでした。しかし、フルでリカがどうして。
今のひなみ沢の状況は私も詳しくありません。一応当時の新聞でダム計画の無期凍結が決定されたというのは読みました。ですからダム戦争は終わって平穏な生活を取り戻していると信じていたのですが。
ダム戦争は確かに終わった。だがな、その翌年からな、通称お社様のたたりと呼ばれる連続開始事件が毎年起こるようになってな。その詳細についてはまさにお前さんが今言った通りの内容なんだわい。
どうやら私は彼女に大変な何かを託されたような気がしてきました。大石さん、ズバリお尋ねします。今年フルでリカが殺されるのはあり得る流れだと思いますか？
フルデ夫妻はダム戦争当時消極的だったことを理由に
Oh, he needs to stop listening to these stupid villager talks.
それで3年目のたたりにあったというのが定説です。その流れから言えばフルでリカ殺しは
あり得るんですね。
Oishi nodded slowly.
明日フルでリカに接触を試みるつもりです。どうやら彼女に直接話を聞くしかないようですからね。
赤坂さん、それ私もご一緒させてくれませんか？フルでリカの話はどうやら私にとっても重要なものになりそうです。
こりゃお前さん、なんともとんでもない土産を持ってきてくれたもんだの。わしもちょいと面白くなってきたぜ。煙に巻かれたまま終わると思ってた怪事件が解けるのに立ち会えるとは思わなんだ。
しかし疑問もありますね。どうしてこんな重要な話を私だけに打ち明けたのでしょう。助けを求めるなら東京から出張してきた私ではなく地元警察のはずなのですが。
多分地元警察を信用しきれないところがあったのでしょう。私も泥臭い人間です。リカさんの信用を得ていなかったのかもしれない。それに沖宮署には S 号の息のかかった連中も少なからず潜んでいます。
つまり東京から来た私が一番信用できたという。
悔しいですが。
だとしたらこの件他にはない道に。
もちろんですと。とにかく明日ひなみ沢に行ってリカさんに直接話を伺ってみましょう。話はそれからです。
Not sure anyone has ever told you this, but there's a P for backgrounds too. It's F1. What? Oh, what? You tell me this at chapter 8? This is like the OG visual novel style, bro. This is way cooler. Fuck this text box at the bottom. Hold up. Ah, shit. No, man. I was scrolling on OBS and it scrolled in fucking Higurashi. Replay. Let's start from chapter 1. It's hard to believe, but it's the truth, isn't it? It was in the middle of the night. Only the sounds of the insects and Satoko's snoring could be heard. Riko was sitting by her favorite window. Yo, wait, hold up. Yo, this changes everything!
はっきりと見ましたのです。リカは私を殺すつもりではありませんでした。 リカは
Oh, we're using F1 backgrounds for the rest of the fucking game, by the way. We've like pretty much seen all the new backgrounds.
意識のあるままにお腹を裂かれてもなお歯を食いしばってその顔を見ていたのです。
I love this shit. They're fucking, the text just goes over their fucking images.
嫌な死に方ね。毎回記憶に残ってなかったの。感謝したいわ。でも
I guess the issue though is there's no like, it doesn't tell you who's talking.
高野の好みそうな殺し方だもの。でもわからない。
Yeah, so if you're a deaf person watching this playthrough, you might have a little bit of trouble. Maybe we oh, maybe we change to this. Alright, this one's for the deaf viewers. I got you.
だって私は女王感染者で私が死ねば大惨事になるんでしょう。だから入江機関や山犬たちが私を
Wait, it doesn't say here anyways.
そのてっぺん
Oh, there we go. Maybe it was bugged.
どうして私を殺さなくちゃならないの？ごめん。意味のない質問ね。高野が私を殺す。
We'll just check every background.
それが真実なのであって、その動機なんか大した問題じゃないものね。しかし、よりによって、なぜ高野なの？
Although she just said that the motive didn't matter, Rika went back to the same question. The reason why Takano was protecting the Queen Carrier wasn't because she wanted to prevent the rest of Hinamizawa from developing the syndrome. It was because the Queen Carrier was an extremely valuable subject of her research. Then, considering that value, why did she kill the Queen Carrier with her own two hands?
敵は高野一人なの。山犬の人たちも敵でした。入江が敵かは分かりませんでしたが、多分敵じゃなかったと思いますです。
高野と山犬が敵？冗談じゃない。私たち小娘がどう立ち向かえって言うの？無理よ。奇跡でも起きない限り。
And then Akasaka jumps in through the window.
しかも、綿流しは次の日曜日。私が殺されるのは22日。あと1週間ってところ？そのわずかな時間でどう戦うの？
Bro, Akasaka's like fucking Leon.
高野を金属バットで闇討ちにでもしてみる？意味ないわ。高野一人を返り討ちにしたって山犬たちに取り囲まれておしまいよ。どうすればいいのよ。どうすれば。
そんなの僕だってわからないのです。でも今までは何度繰り返したって敵の名前だってわからなかったじゃないですか。それをやっと掴んだのです。やれることがあるはずなんです。
Yo, angry Hanyu. This one's huge. This was the first time in a long time that Hanyu had spoken so positively. Rika was startled for a moment and realized that she was losing her cool. She took a deep breath and tried to calm herself down. She was still confused that Takano was the culprit. Rika had always thought of Takano as her ally. There were, after all, many reasons why Takano should treat her well. Rika couldn't even think of one reason why Takano would want to kill her. Still, Takano was always thinking about bizarre things. There was no guarantee that a crazy idea of hers couldn't become a motive.
ということは、富武は殺されてる。
It's Takano.
富武は味方？
多分。
Bro, they need to warn Tomitake, like, ASAP.
そうですよ、リカ。富武に相談すればいいのです。
Takano was accompanied by the mountain dogs because of an organization named Tokyo. No, that's a city. So could Rika ask for help only from someone affiliated with that organization? In that case, Tomitake was the only one she could talk to about the issue. Although Irie might also be worth having a talk with. But then, that was why she needed to know. She needed to know why Takano wanted to kill her. Unless she could explain that, they probably wouldn't even believe her. Yeah, fucking Tomitake's simp ass would be like, what are you fucking saying? I love this woman. Besides, Tomitake wasn't... Yep, there you go. Fucking simp ass motherfucker. He wouldn't doubt her so easily. Oh, wait, let's hit F1 on this. Yo, can we see Ancient Moon? Oh, okay. The fuck is that? Huh? That's like fucking Broly's doing a fucking super powered attack towards us or something. It's just a fucking green ass ball. Alright. Idiot seemed to be keeping a little distance from Takano. He might be a little more inclined to believe. But as someone who was simply a doctor, he knew little about Tokyo. He might end up being useless to Rika. Then should she call the police? No way, definitely no way. There was no way they would believe her. If she were to make a call and say that a strange organization named Tokyo was trying to kill her, they would think she was crazy. Then what could she do? How could she save herself? The scariest people in Hinazawa were coming to kill her. How could she run from them? How could she fight them? How? If she had remembered the scene of Takano killing her, then she wouldn't have been so confused, because seeing is believing, but she didn't remember. This was just what Hanyu was telling her. She didn't want Takano to be her enemy. This was a truth she didn't want to accept, so she was tempted to just say that this was all simply Hanyu's delusion.
落ち着くのです、リカ。前の世界で僕たちは学んだはずなのです。覚えていませんですか？
前の世界ってあれでしょ？
No! Rika completely forgot a whole world!
違いますです。その次にもう一つ世界があった。本当に覚えてないのですか？その世界ではあいつが帰ってくるのです。
Akasaka.
北条哲平が。
Oh wait. No, well, technically Akasaka came back as well, but he just fucking went to a goddamn hotel nearby with his fucking wife. Didn't help.
最悪の世界ね。何をやっても相談所は様子見で、佐藤君は数日で廃人同然。どうせ仲間の誰かが発症して鉄平を闇討ちにするんでしょ。
Nope.
違います。そこではみんなが力を合わせて相談所に陳情してちゃんと佐藤君を救ったのです。その世界で
No, bro, Rika's dementia. 8-year-old with dementia. It's fucking terminal.
奇跡は信じなきゃ起きない。そしてみんなが信じれば必ず奇跡は起こるって。
確かに圭一が言いそうなことね。でもすごい、今まで一度も退けられなかった鉄平の帰宅する世界を。
その世界の圭一たちはどうやって奇跡を起こすか知ってますですか？みんなにですね、どうせダメだとか一人で悩んだりとかしないでみんなに相談したのです。だから奇跡が起こせたのです。
みんなにって圭一たちに高野のことを相談しろと？東京という怪しげな組織に狙われているから助けてって。
信じてくれますです。前の世界では信じてくれましたのです。なんでリカは僕が言うのを信じてくれませんのですか？
ごめんなさい。信じないわけじゃないの。羽生が見たんだから。それは真実なんだものね。自分の記憶に残らないというのがこんなにも温度差を感じさせてしまうものだったなんて。
So how does Hanyu function? Because clearly she's in like ghost form right now. So like does she just like have a shack somewhere where she hides her clothes and then fucking turns into ghost form and then like goes into Shrine Maiden mode and then fucking goes back to the fucking shack, picks up her clothes and comes out like fully dressed? Like the fuck?
とにかくリカと僕が2人で悩んでも何も解決できませんです。僕たち2人の力ではあまりに非力なのです。でも僕たちには武器があります。それは真実です。動機はよくわかんないけど、でも犯人は高野だってわかってます。だからこれはこれまでの世界で一番有利なスタートのはずなんです。それなのになんで最後の最後でリカだけ記憶がつながらないのです。
Hanyu ground her teeth remorsefully. She saw the truth just a short time ago, so she couldn't believe that Rika didn't remember anything. If it was something she had seen herself, then she wouldn't even need a motive. But she hadn't, and that was why she couldn't understand. Why was her memory missing even when Hanyu's memory was still intact? Did that mean their long journey was about to end? Perhaps their infinitely repeating journey was already over, and this was the last world of all.
羽生がみんなにも見えて、しかも転校までしてくるなんて。なんで
おかしくも何もありまただ。最後の世界なだけなのです。僕は その最後の世界でみんなと力を合わせるためにやってきました。僕はここでは傍観者じゃない、理科のみんなの仲間で味方なのです。
そういえばそうね。あんた傍観者をやめたのね。
僕はもう傷つくことを恐れて舞台に上がらないなんて嫌なのです。それを恐れずにみんなと信じる。だから奇跡が起こせる。これは昭和58年6月をかけたゲームの世界なのです。戦っているのはリカとタカノ。期限までにリカが敵を倒せないと自動タカノたちは山犬という少々の駒を集めたくらいではとても太刀打ちできないのです。だからリカはあらゆる人に助けを求め対等な数だけ駒を揃えなければそもそもゲームが始まらない。このゲーム版のルールを僕たちは何度も繰り返しながら学んできましたのです。それはまるで説明書のないゲームのよう。でも僕たちは何度も学び、そしてようやく戦い方を知り、さらに敵方の駒の正体まで最初から分かっているという破格のリードがもらえましたのです。リカ、ぼんやりしてる場合じゃないのです。綿流しまであと1週間。前の世界は2週間の猶予で始まりましたのですが、今回は1週間しかない。つまりこれが最後の世界なのです。
わかったわ。私が覚えていないことの不幸を嘆くより、あなたが覚えていてくれた幸運を喜ぶべきね。あなたまで忘れていたら、この最後の世界も右往左往してるうちに終わってしまったに違いない。
Because if you didn't, this final world would end while we ran about in
それ
confusion.
に圭一たちへの相談もうまく話し方を考えれば何かいい知恵がもらえるかもしれない。何しろ学校大爆発がほぼ確定したあの世界でレナと大立ち回りをして正気に戻させるという奇跡を成し遂げた男なんだから。
そうです。とにかく話せる人に相談しましょうです。僕たちだけではあまりにか弱いのです。仲間を集めどうするかを考えましょうです。奇跡の道も一歩からなのです。
しかもそれはたったの1週間でね。
I had never encouraged her like this before. She had always pretended to be a bystander. She never wanted to go through the pain of failure, so she had never had expectations for anything. But now she was trying to intervene in this world so passionately and proactively. According to Hanyu, there had been another world after the one in which Rena occupied the school. Apparently Keiichi really inspired her in that world. Rika had nothing to lose. She had to talk to whoever she thought she could trust. And whether she tried or not, she had only a few short time left. She decided to do whatever she possibly could until that time arrived. She would never again act like it was cool to sip wine pretending to be a witch as the end closed upon her. Goofy ass motherfucker.
もしもし。
Uh-oh. Damn, bro, the visuals were hella dark a long time ago.
ご無沙汰しておりますわ。野村です。ええ、先日は詳細な資料をありがとうございました。厚生省のお歴々もあなたの丁寧な資料のおかげで南沢症候群の恐ろしさを理解してくださりました。すべてあなたと小高野先生の研究の成果ではありませんか。私は正当な研究が正当な評価を受けられるようにしたに過ぎませんわ。それはもちろんあなたの資料をやがては総理の手にも取らせてみせましょう。総理は一国の主。我が国で最も権力を持つ人物にあなたとあなたの祖父の論文を読ませ、それがいかに優れた研究であり、そして南沢症候群がいかに特別なものなのか。なのにその研究をないがしろにし、 無残にもあなたとあなたの祖父の論文を土足で踏みにじった現理事会。彼ら、そんなあなたに朗報があります。終末作戦が終わった後、現地は隔離閉鎖され、陸自の別部門が研究を引き継ぐこととなりました。あなたはそこへ迎え入れられ、派閥や予算に悩まされることなく、心ゆくまで研究をすることができるのです。
Wait, is this a different timeline where Takano maybe won't kill Rika for some reason?
あなたの献身的努力に報いたいとおっしゃられるクライアントの行為と
Because
し
it
か申
says
せませんわ。
the location will be isolated and shut down, and another department of the SDF will take over the research. How do you continue research into Hinamizawa syndrome if you fucking blow it up and kill everybody?
あなたはそこで所長の地位を与えられ、今度こそ思うままに存分に研究に勤しむことができるのです。それはとても素晴らしいことではありませんか。そしてあなたはひなみざわ症候群の研究をステップの一つに。
Unless this is just how it is actually every timeline. I guess we've never seen this POV.
いいえ、これはお世辞でも何でもありませんわ。あなたに対する私どものクライアントの正当な評価です。そうですか。長電話を失礼してしまいま
But
した。
now I just don't really understand what the fucking... What's the motive to fucking killing Rika and making all of the Hinamizawans die? How do you research Hinamizawa syndrome if they're all dead? Isn't there like an underground lab during chapter 7 which is shown? Okay, but you still need fucking... You need experiment subjects. You can't fucking... If you kill everybody, well, how do you... Huh?
それでは失礼いたします。また追ってご連絡いたします。
The one put down the handset of her car phone. Car phones, Jesus Christ. Then she picked it up again and made another call.
1001をお願いします。ええ、渡辺とお伝えを。渡辺です。ええ、先日の件はつつがなく終了しました。はい。高野さんの資料は素晴らしいものです。さらに国立研究所の職員を同行させましたので、背広連中はそのまま鵜呑みに。そちらも問題ありません。20日以降から敵対派閥のほとんどの閣僚は外遊、もしくは西洋で東京を離れます。はい。不確定要素はいくつか残りますが、おそらく6月23日には、はい。ですので、現地作戦は6月22日深夜に決行。23日に総理の
No, so, okay, they 100% are planning everything with Rika's death.
はい。当日、総理を補佐できるブレーンは全て我々側の人間です。総理は万に一つの疑問も抱かないでしょう。ええ、それは間違いなく、総理は必ず緊急マニュアル第34号に署名します。その後はアルファベットへの責任追及となり、奥の千葉派、旧小泉派は発言力を大きく失うこととなるでしょう。ええ、そうです。今村先生の復権は時間の問題です。ですわね。
There's money to spend on developing domestic nuclear arms or the Japanese-American alliance spanning the Pacific, then it would be more profitable for our nation to spend it on ODA towards China. The 21st century will be the era of China, with their nation claiming a good portion of the world's population. Japan gets nothing out of wagging its tail for the US anymore.
全くですわ。
Bro, Takano's just another pawn in a fucking bigger scheme. Takano's a fucking idiot. It's a fucking scheme to fucking cater to China.
はい、わかりました。では来週マカオにてよろしくお願いいたします。私カジノは大好きですので。
Wait, she's one of us.
はい、それでは失礼いたします。また追ってご連絡いたします。
The woman put down the handset of her car phone and took a breath. She smiled in satisfaction, then picked up the handset again. How many different names do you have, bitch?
私です。奥の長官。
Holy fuck, bro. She's like, what is she, a top secret spy? She was Nomura for Takano, Watanabe for whoever, and then fucking, what the hell, man? Alright. Well, well, well. Very nice. Alright, champ, that's where we wrap up for today. Yes, sir. Let's see here. Short stream? How long we've been live? 7 hours? That's not short, bitch. Eat my ass. I'll see y'all tomorrow. Thank you guys for hanging out. As always, good night, everybody. Mori Higu tomorrow. Tomorrow we do have a Where Winds Meet sponsor.